The distant hum of the ship's engines was a constant companion, a reminder of the vast emptiness surrounding us. I never thought I'd find comfort in that sound, but after 6 months in deep space, it had become as familiar as my own heartbeat. Our mission was simple: explore the outer reaches of our solar system, gather data, and return home. We were the eyes and ears of humanity, venturing further than anyone had gone before. Captain Sarah Chen's voice crackled over the intercom, jolting me from my thoughts. "All hands to the bridge. We've picked up an anomaly." Her tone was calm, but I could hear the underlying tension. In our line of work, anomalies were rarely good news. I made my way through the narrow corridors, my magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor. The rest of the crew was already assembled when I arrived. Dr. Alejandro Reyes, our chief scientist, was hunched over a console, his brow furrowed in concentration. Lieutenant Kira Nwosu stood at attention, her dark eyes scanning the room, assessing potential threats. And there was Chen, her silver hair pulled back in a tight bun, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the holographic display. "What are we looking at, Captain?" I asked, trying to make sense of the swirling patterns on the screen. Ken's lips tightened into a thin line. "We're not entirely sure, Collins. It appears to be some sort of disturbance in space-time." "Dr. Reyes, can you elaborate?" Alejandro cleared his throat, his fingers dancing across the keyboard as he pulled up more data. "It's unlike anything we've ever encountered. The readings suggest a massive gravitational anomaly, but it's shifting, changing, almost as if it's alive." A chill ran down my spine. In all our years of space exploration, we'd never found evidence of extraterrestrial life. Could this be it? The moment that would change everything? "Is it a threat?" Kira asked, her hand instinctively moving to the weapon at her hip. "Unknown," Chent replied, "but we need to investigate. This could be the discovery of the century." I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled in my stomach. We were trained for this, sure, but nothing could truly prepare you for the unknown. As we plotted our approach, I thought about Earth, billions of miles away, our families, our friends, everyone we'd left behind. They had no idea what we were about to face. The ship's engines roared to life as we changed course, heading straight for the anomaly. Through the viewport, I could see it now, a shimmering, iridescent tear in the fabric of space. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. "Approaching optimal scanning range," Kira announced, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. Alejandro's fingers flew across the keyboard, initiating a barrage of scans and tests. "This is incredible," he muttered, more to himself than to us. "The energy readings are off the charts. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." As we drew closer, the anomaly seemed to pulse, as if reacting to our presence. The ship's systems began to flicker, alarms blaring throughout the vessel. "What's happening?" Chen demanded, her composure slipping for the first time since I'd known her. It's pulling us in," Kira shouted, fighting with the controls. "Engines at maximum, but we're not breaking free." I gripped the nearest console, my knuckles turning white. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. We were explorers, scientists, not equipped to deal with whatever this was. As the anomaly loomed larger in our viewport, I couldn't help but think of all the science fiction stories I'd read as a kid. First contact, wormholes, alternate dimensions. But this was real, and we were completely unprepared. The ship shuddered violently, and for a moment, I was sure we were going to be torn apart. Then suddenly, everything went quiet. The alarms ceased, the lights stabilized, and the violent shaking stopped. We all looked at each other, wide-eyed and breathless. "Status report," Chen commanded, her voice barely above a whisper. Kira checked her readings, her face pale. We've passed through it, Captain, but I don't recognize any of these star patterns. I don't think we're in our solar system anymore." As the reality of our situation sank in, I realized that everything we thought we knew about the universe had just been turned upside down. We had crossed a threshold, ventured into the truly unknown, and as I stared out at the unfamiliar stars surrounding us, I couldn't shake the feeling that our journey was only just beginning. Whatever lay ahead, one thing was certain: we never saw it coming. And now, lost in an unknown corner of the cosmos, we would have to rely on each other more than ever before. Our mission had changed. It was no longer about exploration. It was about survival and finding a way home. The silence on the bridge was deafening. We all stared at the unfamiliar starscape before us, trying to process what had just happened. Captain Chen was the first to snap out of it, her years of training kicking in. "All right, people, let's get our bearings," she said, her voice steady despite the extraordinary circumstances. "Reyes, I need a full system diagnostic. Nmosu, see if you can pinpoint our location. Collins, check our supplies and life support systems." We moved to our stations, grateful for the familiar routines in this unfamiliar situation. As I ran through the inventory checks, my mind raced. How far from home were we? Would we ever make it back? And what exactly was that anomaly that brought us here? "Captain," Alejandro called out, his voice tinged with worry. "The good news is that all major systems are functioning. But there's something odd about our sensor readings. It's as if the fundamental constants of the universe have shifted." Chen frowned. "Explain." "The speed of light, gravitational constant, even the behavior of subatomic particles. They're all slightly different here. It's subtle, but significant enough that some of our equipment might not work as expected." This news sent a shiver down my spine. We weren't just in uncharted space. We were in a place where the very laws of physics were different. The implications were staggering. Kira spoke up next, her face illuminated by the glow of her console. "I've been trying to map our position based on known stellar configurations, but nothing matches. It's as if we're in an entirely different galaxy." The weight of her words hung heavy in the air. We were further from home than any human had ever been, in a place we couldn't even begin to understand. "Life support and supplies?" Chen asked, turning to me. I swallowed hard before answering. "We're okay for now. With strict rationing, we have enough food and water for about 6 months. Oxygen recycling is stable, but we'll need to find a way to replenish our reserves eventually." Chen nodded, taking in the information. "All right, here's what we're going to do. First priority is to find a way to communicate with Earth. Even if we can't get back immediately, they need to know what happened to us." "But Captain," Kira interjected, "if we're in another galaxy, how can we possibly?" "I know it seems impossible," Chen cut her off, "but we have to try. The anomaly that brought us here might be our ticket home. Reyes, I want you to focus on understanding that phenomenon. See if you can find a way to recreate it, or at least predict when and where it might occur again." Alejandro nodded, already lost in thought about the scientific challenge ahead. "Mosu, keep trying to map our location. Look for any patterns, any signs of intelligent life out here. And Collins, you're in charge of resource management. We need to stretch our supplies as far as possible." As we set to our tasks, I couldn't help but feel a mix of terror and exhilaration. We were in uncharted territory, facing challenges no human had ever encountered before. But isn't that what we signed up for when we became explorers? Days turned into weeks as we settled into our new reality. Alejandro spent countless hours poring over the data from the anomaly, muttering to himself in a mix of English and Spanish. Kira's star charts grew more complex by the day, covering entire walls of the ship. And I found myself rationing everything from food to toothpaste, keenly aware that every resource was precious. It was during one of our routine sensor sweeps that we picked up something unusual, a faint signal, repeating at regular intervals. It wasn't natural. Something out there was broadcasting. It could be a trap, Kira warned as we debated our next move. We have no idea what kind of life forms exist out here, or if they're friendly. It could also be our only chance at finding help, I countered. We can't just ignore it. Chen listened to our arguments, her face unreadable. Finally, she made her decision. We'll approach cautiously. Minimal power output. All non-essential systems shut down. If there's even a hint of danger, we pull back immediately. As we altered course towards the signal, the tension on the ship was palpable. Were we about to make first contact with an alien civilization, or were we flying into danger we couldn't even imagine? The source of the signal slowly came into view. A massive structure floating in space. It was clearly artificial, a sprawling complex of interconnected modules and antennae. But it showed no signs of current activity. No lights, no movement, nothing to indicate it was occupied. "It looks like some kind of space station," Alejandro mused, his scientific curiosity overriding his caution. "But the design, it's like nothing I've ever seen before." Chen made the call. "We're going to dock and investigate. Suit up, standard exploration protocol. We stay together, we stay alert, and at the first sign of trouble, we get out." "Understood." We all nodded, excitement and fear battling for dominance in our minds. As we prepared for our EVA, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were about to cross another threshold. Whatever we found on that station could change everything, not just for us, but for all of humanity. The airlock hissed open, and we stepped into the unknown. The station's corridors were dark and silent, our helmet lights casting long shadows. Strange symbols adorned the walls, complex patterns that seemed to shift and change as we moved past them. "This technology," Alejandro whispered, his voice filled with awe. "It's centuries, maybe millennia beyond anything we have. Look at the way the materials seamlessly blend together. And these patterns, they might be some kind of advanced interface." As we ventured deeper into the station, questions multiplied faster than answers. Who built this place? Why was it abandoned? And most importantly, could it help us get home? We found what appeared to be a central control room, filled with incomprehensible displays and instruments. Alejandro immediately set to work, trying to make sense of the alien technology. The rest of us spread out, searching for any clues about the station's purpose or its former inhabitants. That's when I saw it. In a corner of the room, partially hidden behind a console, was a device that looked strangely familiar. It was roughly cylindrical, with a pulsing core of energy at its center. It looked almost exactly like a smaller version of the anomaly that had brought us here. "Captain," I called out, my voice shaking, "I think you need to see this." As the others gathered around, I could see the same realization dawning on their faces. This station, this advanced alien technology, it was all connected to the phenomenon that had transported us across the universe. Ken's voice was barely above a whisper. "It seems we've stumbled onto something much bigger than we ever imagined. Whatever brought us here, it wasn't an accident. We're part of something now, whether we like it or not." As if in response to her words, the device began to pulse more rapidly. The station around us hummed to life, displays flickering with alien script and diagrams. We stood there, frozen, as the magnitude of our discovery washed over us. We had set out to explore the edges of our solar system. Instead, we found ourselves at the heart of a cosmic mystery, with the fate of not just our mission, but possibly our entire species hanging in the balance. And as the alien station awakened around us, one thing became crystal clear. Our journey was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. The station's awakening was like nothing we'd ever experienced. Lights pulsed in rhythmic patterns, and a low hum filled the air, resonating through our suits. We stood transfixed, watching as holographic displays sprang to life around us, filling the room with swirling alien script and complex diagrams. "Don't touch anything," Chen ordered, her voice tense. "Reyes, what are we looking at?" Alejandro moved cautiously from display to display, his scientific mind working overtime to make sense of what we were seeing. It's incredible, Captain. From what I can gather, this station is some kind of hub or waypoint in a vast network of these anomalies. They're not natural phenomena. They're artificial wormholes, created by whoever built this place." The implications hit us like a shockwave. We hadn't just stumbled upon advanced alien technology. We discovered a system of interstellar travel that could revolutionize humanity's place in the universe. As we tried to process this information, a new sound caught our attention. A series of clicks and whistles echoed through the station, growing louder by the second. We turned to see a shimmering field of energy forming in the center of the room. Defensive positions. Chen shouted, and we scrambled for cover, weapons drawn. We had no idea what was coming through that portal, but we had to be ready for anything. The energy field stabilized, forming a doorway of sorts, and then they stepped through, beings unlike anything we'd ever imagined. Tall, ethereal creatures with bodies that seemed to shift and flow like liquid light. They moved with a grace that defied physics, and their eyes, if you could call them eyes, held depths of knowledge that made me feel like a child in comparison. For a moment, nobody moved. We stared at the aliens, and they stared back at us. Then, to our shock, one of them spoke. The words weren't in any human language, but somehow I understood them perfectly. "You have come far, children of Earth," the being said, its voice resonating in my mind rather than my ears. "We have been waiting a long time for this moment." Chen stepped forward, lowering her weapon but keeping it ready. "Who are you? Why did you bring us here?" The alien's form shimmered, and I got the impression it was expressing amusement. "We did not bring you here, Captain Sarah Chen. You found your way to us as we always knew you would. We are the Guardians, and this station is one of many we have placed throughout the cosmos." "Guardians of what?" Kira asked, her voice a mix of awe and suspicion. "Of the balance," another alien replied, "of the very fabric of space and time. We have watched your species for millennia, waiting for the day you would be ready to join us in our duty." My head was spinning. This was beyond first contact. This was an invitation to a cosmic responsibility we couldn't even begin to comprehend. But as I looked at the faces of my crewmates, I saw the same mix of fear and excitement that I felt. Alejandro, ever the scientist, couldn't contain his curiosity. The anomalies, the wormholes, you created them all. How? Why? The first Guardian moved closer, its form rippling with what seemed like countless stars. The universe is vaster and more complex than your science has yet grasped. These pathways are necessary to maintain the cosmic balance, to prevent the collapse of reality itself. And now, humanity has reached the point where you must take your place as custodians of these gateways. Ken's expression hardened, and if we refuse, we're explorers, not cosmic maintenance workers. We have a home, a planet to return to. The Guardians exchanged looks, and I felt a chill run down my spine. When they spoke again, their tone was grave. "The choice is yours, but know this. The anomaly that brought you here was no accident. It was a test, one your species has been preparing for without knowing it. If you reject this duty, the consequences will be severe." The tension in the room skyrocketed. We come seeking knowledge and adventure, but now found ourselves faced with a decision that could affect the fate of our entire species. As Chen opened her mouth to respond, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. The Guardians' forms flickered, their expressions turning to what I can only describe as cosmic concern. "It appears," one of them said, "that the decision may no longer be in your hands. A great disturbance approaches, one that threatens not just your world, but all worlds." The station shuddered, and through the viewport, we saw space itself seem to tear open. As we watched in horror, a massive dark shape began to emerge from the rift. Whatever it was, I knew instinctively that it spelled doom for everything we held dear. We stood on the precipice of a cosmic battle, with the fate of the universe hanging in the balance, and somehow, improbably, we were right in the middle of it all. The dark shape emerging from the rift grew larger, its form defying description. It was as if a piece of the void itself had come alive, tendrils of absolute darkness reaching out towards the station. The Guardians' luminous forms dimmed, their voices tinged with what could only be described as cosmic dread. "The Void Eater," one of them whispered. "We feared this day would come, but not so soon." Captain Chen, ever the leader, stepped forward. "What is that thing, and what does it want?" The lead Guardian turned to us, its ethereal features grave. "It is entropy incarnate, a force that seeks to unravel the very fabric of reality. It consumes entire universes, leaving nothing but emptiness in its wake. And now it has found its way here." Alejandro's scientific curiosity overrode his fear. "But how is that possible? Entropy is a natural process, not a living thing. In this vast multiverse, The Guardian explained. Even the laws of physics can take on sentience. The Void Eater is the ultimate expression of cosmic decay, and it hungers for the energy that powers our network of wormholes. As if to emphasize the point, the station shuddered violently. Through the viewports, we watched in horror as nearby wormholes began to collapse, their swirling energies drawn inexorably towards the encroaching darkness. "We must act now," Chent declared, her voice steady despite the impossible situation. "What can we do to stop this, Void Eater?" The Guardians exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. Finally, the leader spoke. "There is a way, but it requires a sacrifice we cannot ask of you. The heart of this station contains enough energy to create a feedback loop, a cosmic trap that could contain the Void Eater. But to activate it, someone would have to stay behind," Kira finished, her voice barely above a whisper. The weight of those words hung heavy in the air. We had come so far, faced so much, only to be confronted with an impossible choice. Save the universe, but at the cost of one of our own. Before any of us could volunteer, a new alarm blared through the station. The lead Guardian's form flickered intensely, its voice urgent. "The Void Eater's presence is destabilizing the local space-time continuum. A temporal rift is forming." As if on cue, the air in front of us shimmered and tore open, but instead of the inky blackness of the Void Eater, we saw ourselves. An older version of our crew, battered and weary, stepped through the rift. "Don't activate the trap," our future selves said in unison, their voices laden with years of regret. For a moment, we all stood frozen, trying to process this new impossibility. Two versions of our crew, face to face, with the fate of the universe hanging in the balance. The future Chen stepped forward, her hair streaked with gray, her face lined with years of hardship. "If you spring the trap now, you'll only delay the inevitable. We've lived through this moment, seen its consequences play out across decades. There's another way, but you have to trust us." Our Chen, ever suspicious, stood her ground. "How do we know you're really us? This could be a trick, a deception by the Void Eater." The future Alejandro smiled sadly. "Ask us something only we would know. Something from our past, your present." As the two versions of our crew began a tense exchange, proving their identities with memories and secrets, I couldn't help but stare at my future self. The haunted look in his eyes, the way he carried himself. What had we been through? What horrors had we witnessed in that future we were trying to prevent? The station groaned around us, the Void Eater's tendrils probing ever closer. Time was running out, and we faced an impossible decision. Trust our future selves and risk everything on their unknown plan, or activate the trap and sacrifice one of our own, possibly only delaying the inevitable. As Captain Chen opened her mouth to make the call, the Guardians suddenly stiffened, their forms glowing with intense energy. "Something is changing," they intoned, their voices resonating with cosmic power. "The timelines are shifting. A new player enters the game." Before we could ask what they meant, a blinding light filled the station. As it faded, we found ourselves face to face with yet another impossible sight. Standing before us, clad in gleaming armor that seemed to be made of pure starlight, was a being that radiated power and purpose. "I am the Cosmic Sentinel," it announced, its voice echoing with the weight of eons, "and I bring word of a third option." The Cosmic Sentinel's arrival sent shockwaves through the station. Even the Guardians seemed in awe, their luminous forms bowing slightly in deference. The Void Eater's advance slowed, as if it too sensed the power of this new arrival. "Your courage in facing this threat is admirable," the Sentinel said, its voice resonating with cosmic authority. "But the solution lies not in sacrifice or in fleeing across time. It lies in understanding." With a wave of its hand, the Sentinel conjured a swirling vortex of energy in the center of the room. Within it, we saw images of countless worlds, entire galaxies, all interconnected by a web of shimmering pathways. "The Void Eater is not your enemy," the Sentinel explained. "It is a vital part of the cosmic cycle, as necessary as creation itself. But it has grown imbalanced, consuming faster than the universe can replenish. Our future selves exchanged glances, hope dawning on their weary faces. Is that why our attempt to trap it failed? The future Chen asked. Because we were fighting against a fundamental force of nature. The sentinel nodded. Precisely. The key is not to destroy or contain the Void Eater, but to restore its equilibrium. Alejandro, both present and future versions, leaned forward eagerly. But how? We don't have the power to influence cosmic forces on that scale. Alone, no, the Sentinel agreed. But together, with the energy of this station and the unique quantum entanglement created by your temporal duplicates, we can reset the cosmic balance. The plan the Cosmic Sentinel laid out was audacious, bordering on insane. We would use the station's wormhole technology to create a temporal loop, fusing our present and future selves. This paradox, combined with the Guardian's power and the Sentinel's guidance, would generate enough energy to rewrite the fundamental constants of our local universe. As we scrambled to make the necessary preparations, the Void Eater's tendrils pressed closer. The station groaned under the strain, systems failing left and right. We worked feverishly, our past and future selves in perfect synchronization, guided by the Guardian's ancient knowledge and the Sentinel's cosmic wisdom. It's now or never, Chen shouted as the final connections were made. Everyone, brace yourselves. I locked eyes with my future self, seeing in them a reflection of all we had been through and all that was yet to come. We nodded in silent understanding, then pressed our hands to the activation panel. The universe exploded. For a moment that felt like eternity, I was everywhere and nowhere, my consciousness expanding to encompass galaxies, then contracting to the size of a quark. I saw the birth and death of stars, the slow dance of galaxies, the intricate ballet of subatomic particles. And through it all, I felt the presence of my crewmates, our minds and souls intertwined across time and space. When reality reasserted itself, we found ourselves back on the station, but everything had changed. The Void Eater was gone, replaced by a gently pulsing field of darkness that radiated not menace, but harmony. The Guardians glowed with renewed vigor, and the Cosmic Sentinel nodded in approval. It is done, the Sentinel proclaimed. The balance is restored. The Void Eater will continue its work, but in concert with the forces of creation, not in opposition to them. We looked around in wonder, realizing that our future selves had vanished. We had become them, their memories and experiences merging with our own. We were the same, yet forever changed. As the adrenaline of our cosmic adventure began to fade, a new realization dawned. Wait, I said, looking at my crewmates. If we've reset the cosmic balance and merged with our future selves, does that mean we can go home? The Sentinel's form began to fade, its mission complete, but its final words echoed through the station. Your journey is far from over, explorers of Earth. You have been given a great gift, knowledge of the cosmic tapestry. How you use it is up to you. As the Sentinel vanished, we turned to the Guardians, questions burning in our minds. But to our shock, we found not the ethereal beings we had come to know, but reflections of ourselves, glowing with inner light. You are the Guardians now. Our transformed selves said in unison. The choice to return home is yours, but the universe awaits. What say you, explorers of Earth? Captain Chen looked at each of us in turn, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Well, crew, she said, her eyes sparkling with the light of distant stars, shall we see what's out there? As one, we turned towards the viewport. The vast expanse of the universe spread out before us. Our mission had changed beyond anything we could have imagined. We had set out to explore the solar system and found ourselves the custodians of cosmic balance. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever wonders awaited us in the depths of space, one thing was certain. We would face them together, as crew, as family, as guardians of the cosmic dance. Our greatest adventure was just beginning. As we stood there, gazing out at the vastness of space with our newfound understanding and responsibilities, a comfortable silence fell over the crew. The weight of our decision hung in the air. To return home as changed beings, or to embrace our roles as the new guardians of the cosmos. Captain Chen was the first to break the silence. I think we all know there's no going back to our old lives, she said softly. Not after what we've seen and experienced. Alejandro nodded, his eyes gleaming with the prospect of unraveling more cosmic mysteries. The scientific discoveries we could make out here, it's beyond anything I could have dreamed. Kira chimed in, her voice filled with a mix of excitement and trepidation. But what about our families? Our mission? Earth still doesn't know what happened to us. I found myself torn between the pull of home and the allure of the unknown. Maybe, I suggested, we can find a way to do both. To explore the cosmos as guardians, but also to share our knowledge with humanity. Ken's face lit up at the idea. Collins, you're onto something. We have the power of the wormholes at our disposal now. Who's to say we can't establish a link back to Earth? With renewed purpose, we set to work. Over the next few weeks, we delved deep into the station's systems, learning to harness our new abilities as guardians. It was a steep learning curve, filled with mishaps and moments of breathtaking wonder. More than once, we accidentally opened wormholes to distant galaxies or triggered temporal distortions that had us experiencing breakfast several times in a row. But gradually, we got the hang of it. We learned to sense the cosmic web, to feel the ebb and flow of energy across the universe. And finally, after what felt like both an eternity and no time at all, we were ready. Gathered around the central console, we initiated the sequence to open a wormhole directly to Earth orbit. As the swirling vortex stabilized, we sent out a transmission, a message to home. "This is the crew of the Deep Space Explorer Horizon," Chen began, her voice steady despite the emotion I knew she felt. "We are safe, and we bring news of a universe far grander and more wondrous than we ever imagined." Over the next few hours, we took turns explaining our journey to the stunned mission control back on Earth. We told them of the Guardians, the Void Eater, and our transformation. We shared our newfound knowledge of cosmic forces and the delicate balance that underpins reality itself. As our tale came to an end, there was a long pause from Earth. Then the voice of the mission director crackled through, filled with awe and pride. "You've done more than we could have ever asked," he said. "The choice of what to do next is yours. Whatever you decide, know that you have the full support of everyone here." In that moment, looking at my crewmates, my family, I knew what our decision would be. We would continue our journey, exploring the farthest reaches of the cosmos, but we would also serve as a bridge between Earth and the wider universe, sharing our discoveries and preparing humanity for its place among the stars. As we closed the transmission and prepared to embark on our new mission, I couldn't help but reflect on how far we'd come. We had set out to explore the edges of our solar system, never imagining we'd end up as guardians of cosmic balance. The universe, we had learned, was far stranger and more beautiful than we had ever dreamed. Our journey was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. With the vastness of space spread out before us and the wisdom of the cosmos within us, we were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, as explorers, as guardians, as humans, we would continue to push the boundaries of knowledge and understanding. As Captain Chen input the coordinates for our next destination, a distant galaxy that pulsed with intriguing energy patterns, I felt a thrill of excitement. We never saw it coming, this extraordinary adventure. But now, with open hearts and minds, we were ready to embrace the unknown. The station hummed to life around us, the wormhole spiraling into existence. With one last look at the familiar stars of home, we stepped forward into the next chapter of our cosmic odyssey. The universe awaited, and we were finally ready to meet it.